Okay, we've crossed the 100 mark of attendees. I think that's a good sign to kick things off. Good evening, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the information session for Renew Pacific, wherever you may be in Australia, the Pacific, or beyond. I'd like to kick things off, first of all, by thanking the Australian Government to the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade and the Australian Infrastructure Finance Facility for the Pacific for providing us this opportunity today to present an information session about the program Renew Pacific. I'd like to thank you all as well for making the time to attend today. My name is Mohammed Angawi. I'm the team leader of Renew Pacific, and I hope we come across valuable information and upcoming activities on this wonderful new program supported by the Australian Government in the Pacific. Just quick housekeeping, the agenda for today. Quite a bit of an overview, program overview and context delivered by Mr. Timothy Gill, who's the Director of Climate Infrastructure Investments with the Australian Infrastructure Financing Facility for the Pacific. I will move on then to the program details, where my colleague Ravinesh Nand will provide an overview and some details about the program, about the grant windows and application process. We will then allow plenty of time towards the end for questions and answers. I'm sure there'll be plenty, and we'll do our best to answer them as they come up. And we'll wrap it up. And together, all this may be around 60 minutes, but we're happy to stick around should there be more questions. You feel free to contact us separately as well, and we'll provide some information on contact details later. So without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to Tim, who will give us a program overview and context. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Mo, and good afternoon, everyone from Canberra, Australia. Wonderful to have so many of you online and interested in this brand new program. We're really excited about it. My name, as Mo said, is Tim Gill, and I'm one of the directors in the Australian Infrastructure Financing Facility for the Pacific, which is part of the Australian Government's Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade through our Overseas Development Program. Now, what is AIFFP? In a nutshell, it's a $4 billion infrastructure facility for the Pacific, which the Australian Government uses to support the really important infrastructure needs of the region and to be able to finance them through a combination of grants, sovereign loans and private sector loans. So we're a very unique part of the Australian Overseas Development Program. And we've been around for about 5 years. Now, when the current government came into power, it started something that's called the Pacific Climate Infrastructure Financing Partnership, or PCIFP. And that's what this program is financed out of. Why do we have this infrastructure initiative that's all about climate? Well, it's because climate is the #1 security threat facing the region. Something that Australia has recognised and our Pacific partners across the region have recognised too. It's a real problem for the region and it needs real solutions. Some of those solutions are in reducing greenhouse gas emissions through global agreements and national efforts, but also the region needs really practical solutions that can help them to deal with both the mitigation, adaptation and also resilience challenges they're facing. And many of these solutions can come in the form of infrastructure, which is why AIFFP as an infrastructure facility is so well placed to help the region, and why we're managing this Pacific Climate Infrastructure Financing Partnership, which will deliver a total of 350 million Australian dollars in climate infrastructure to the region. Now the PCIFP has 3 components. The first of those is new large infrastructure projects. We're talking about large solar grids that help to transform major electricity grids from diesel to solar or to hydro or to other renewables. We're talking about climate adaptation projects such as flood alleviation projects and other investments. So that's one component of PCIFP, major projects. Another component is transforming our whole portfolio of infrastructure projects to make them as green and climate friendly as possible. And we have some funding especially for that. And the third component, which is the one that this Renew Pacific program falls under, is financing off-grid renewable energy in the Pacific. And this is a dedicated new work stream for AIFFP that's specifically on off-grid renewable energy. And we've been astounded since we started this work around 18 months ago. We've been astounded by the impacts that renewable technology can bring and how well suited it is to drive inclusive development and climate adaptation in the remote communities of the Pacific. It can provide lighting for safety, for delivering babies at nighttime and for helping children to study longer. It can provide water pumping for drinking water and irrigation. It can help with food preservation and food security. And of course, can provide new income generation opportunities and help connect remote communities to the rest of their nation and the rest of the world. So it's a really amazing development tool. And we're really pleased that we have now got this really dedicated financing to take the work forward. We've had a rapid startup to this work through what's called the Business Partnerships Platform. Maybe we'll just have a look at the next slide. Thank you. So over the past year, we've been funding our first projects in off-grid renewable energy, our first dedicated projects. And as you can see from this slide, we had a pretty amazing response to our first call for partnerships. 74 proposals received and across many different countries. And we selected 13 partnerships across 6 countries for funding. All of those are underway already. 2 of them, I'm happy to say, have already been completed and handed over to the communities and are already making huge impacts. One is a school up in a remote part of Fiji that now has solar energy to help children with their schoolwork, and another is a hospital in a remote part of Solomon Islands that can now really greatly reduce its running costs by reducing diesel expenditure, which made up a huge bulk of the running costs for that hospital. It means that hospital not only has reliable energy for operations, for cold storage and other things, but also can spend a lot more of its resources on actually running the hospital rather than paying a fuel bill. So that's just 2 examples of the impact we've already been able to make, and another 11 projects that are due for completion over the next few months, weeks even, months and years. So we're off to a really cracking start. But what that round did was, I think, to stir up a bit of interest in this type of programming, and helped us to learn a few lessons of what might be possible and got us off to a fast start. So we're learning from all of those projects. Some of those will be able to scale up even further, but also it gives us an idea of how to work with different partners to pull together what's needed for these partnerships. And when I say partnerships, what we've discovered is to use renewable energy in remote parts of the Pacific, we need 3 types of skills. One is the technical renewable energy solution itself. And what we found that Australia in particular has a really advanced renewable sector and is very good at these remote off-grid renewable energy solutions, but often hasn't had a chance to participate with us in our overseas development program. So this has provided a new avenue, not just for Australian businesses, New Zealand businesses, Pacific businesses, but business all around the world now want to work with us and with the Pacific on these solutions. But we're particularly impressed by what Australian industry has been able to deliver in really remote parts of Australia, where we face similar challenges to the Pacific, not only in terms of climate adaptation, but access to reliable and affordable energy. So that's one part. A second part of the partnerships is community engagement. We don't want to do anything in the Pacific unless we really understand the needs of local communities and are listening to their voices, understanding who they are and what the specific needs are of people in those communities, whether they're men, women, children, people with disability, or anyone. So we know that NGOs, churches, community organisations are really good at helping with this. So they often make a great partner in this as well. And then the third element is financing. As you know, we're a grant-funded project here, Renew Pacific, $75 million worth of Australian grants for this project over 5 years. But it can only do so much. We can provide upfront grant financing that might be able to deliver the infrastructure that's needed, but how to maintain that infrastructure over 20 years We simply don't have the mechanism through our grants process to provide that ongoing funding. But we can partner with communities, with financial institutions, with businesses, with utilities, with governments, with communities themselves to provide that ongoing finance that's needed to make sure that this infrastructure continues to deliver the benefits to the community, not just for 2, 3, 4 or 5 years, but to 10, 20 years and beyond. So that's really what the solutions are that we're looking for through the partnerships that we're trying to explain to you today. And I guess I'd just like to finish by saying how happy the Australian government is to be able to work with this range of partners. The trials that we've done so far have been really pleasing for us. And we're very excited about the potential of this program to take inclusive development to remote and rural parts of the Pacific that often don't get to benefit from many aid projects. So this is a deliberately a targeted investment to try to take our Australian development dollars to places that really need development in remote and rural parts of the Pacific. So with that, I think I'll just wrap up. I'm happy to take any questions if you have any now or at a later date. My colleague Nick Murphy, who's also on the line, is the program manager for this program. But if you reach out to us in DFAT, we'll be happy to talk further. But the first port of call should be Mo and his team, who are the dedicated implementers of this new program. With those few words, Mo, I might hand back to you. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Tim. I'd like now to hand over to my colleague, Shannon, who will provide some background on program details. But as Tim said, if you have any questions, please feel free to either drop them in the chat or save them towards the question and answer session as needed. So over to you, Ravinesh. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mo and Tim, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ravinesh Nand. Seeing the list of participants, I think there are some that we have already met or we have already interacted in some part of our work, and good to have those of you who are joining for the first time. We look forward to working with you with your project ideas. I will go with Kate, maybe just go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so the broad objective of the Renew Pacific program, as Tim has already mentioned, but in a nutshell, this is basically to increase access to the remote and rural communities throughout the Pacific, and this is targeted through off-grid renewable energy solutions. The overall broad objective is so that we have improved lives and livelihoods, and the communities have a resilient future adapting to climate change. And the benefits include everyone around the community, including people with disabilities, and especially women as well. Just to give some hints of what are the type of projects, I think Tim has already touched base on most of this. So the program that we intend to deliver, we aspire it to be locally led and inclusive, and as long as it should be sustainable. So these are the three key things that we will look in any proposal that come through. And the solutions that the proposals can champion is providing access to lighting to those communities, providing access to water. It could be through solar water pumping, or improve agriculture through solar-powered irrigation system, for example, better food security, for example, cold chain storage, solar-powered cooling refrigeration systems, quality education and health services, energy systems for remote rural schools or health centers, hospitals, aid posts, etc. Reliable communications. This is normally an add-on to the renewable energy solutions in terms of providing internet connectivity. Now we have various forms of this internet access that could be made available in the rural, remotest parts of almost anywhere. And I think one example is Starlink, which is gaining quite a lot of popularity in these projects. And the last point is enhanced income. So any project that supports communities to generate income to sustain the renewable energy solution as well as other parts of their livelihoods is always welcome. So one example is, for example, you have mothers union in a community that are running a little canteen or something. So a solar solution provides electricity to that mothers club to then kind of expand into their business, and the income generated from there could be used to improve other aspects of the lives of those communities. So this is basically some examples or pointers to show you the direction we are kind of thinking of. Okay, probably next slide, please. Yeah. So the obvious question that most people already have is, what are the funding thresholds? So this is quite flexible. We are looking at a broad range of projects, so targeting very small, even community type of projects, up to large community projects. So something around 250,000 to up to 3 million, etc. Or if there's something more than that, that could be considered on a case-by-case basis. The key requirement is that there is co-contribution from partners. So this is a call for, or would be a call for partnerships, where every partner brings something to the whole equation in terms of either its cash contributions, financial contributions, or in-kind contributions. A community partner, community-based partner could, for example, dedicate a piece of land where, let's say, the energy system would be established, so that it would be considered as a co-contribution. Or the other financial partners can provide upfront cash to the project, so that's also a way to make contributions. The timeline for implementation, broadly 4 years from now, so up till end of 2028. We would rather appreciate proponents to submit in proposals that go on a stage basis. So let's say first 2 years, or if you have a 3-year program, think of stage based. So you give a proposal, implement something, show some results, and we can always build up on that. But overall, we have 4 years up till December 2028 to complete the implementation. The type of projects, it varies. Some we have, you can see on the screen, this includes mini grids in rural communities, hybrid energy system. If there's an existing grid, let's say 5-10 years old, just designed based on diesel generator systems, you could always have a retrofit to make it a hybrid system, let's say solar, etc., or include battery storage into it. Distributed solar systems, we mean, for example, in a community, you have a lot of small community centers, let's say Maniabas in Kiribati on an island. So these are the type of small distributed solar systems that could be considered. Of course, solar home systems for houses that do not have any connection to a reliable continuous form of electricity, solar water pumping, and small-scale hydro, which would be applicable to probably the Melanesian group of countries plus Timor-Leste only. Yeah. On the eligibility and scope I basically talked about already. Some of the renewable energy technologies accepted would be, like I mentioned earlier, microgrids or mini grids that meet the needs of small communities, remote communities. Could be solar PV. We could have battery energy storage systems, wind to some scale if it's applicable, if it's the best available renewable energy resource in the community that you are thinking of putting a proposal for. If wind is a good resource, you would consider that. These are small-scale wind projects. Hydro, small scale. We could also consider innovations. For example, there are now technologies converting or using the biogas generated through animal waste biodigesters into electricity, turning it into light for the houses. So if there's some proposals, for example, we could also consider ocean thermal energy conversion. This is gaining traction in the Pacific. We are aware there are 1 or 2 trials being done around the Pacific. So if somebody has an idea to test it in a community, that could also be considered. Community-powered infrastructure, such as irrigation, cold storage, and even transitioning existing infrastructure into more environmentally sustainable alternatives. In some communities, we have well-functioning diesel generators for many, many years now, and those are kind of reaching their end of life. So there could be opportunities to consider including other aspects, for example, solar, battery, or probably a new generator as well, with some co-contributions from the partners around to make the system go and serve the community for another 20-25 years. Single households, whether they could benefit through solar home systems, but the project proponent needs to make a very come up with a very clear strategy of how those individual home systems would be maintained. And across all, any proposal that comes through, sustainability is a key thing that we'll consider in order to get some funding under the program. Just a point to note that in the upcoming call for proposal, biomass is currently not considered. So this could be reconsidered in the future, but for now, biomass is out of scope. Okay, probably next slide, please. Yeah. So overall, these are the 14 countries around the Pacific and Timor-Leste that are included. So I can read it out just for the benefit in case someone is just listening. Federated States of Micronesia, Fiji, Kiribati, Nauru, Niue, Palau, Papua New Guinea, Republic of Marshall Islands, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Timor-Leste, Tonga, Tuvalu, and Vanuatu. So these are the 14 countries that the program is focusing on. Some brief guidance on the criteria that will apply to consider the proposals that come in. So overall, it should be focused on a community that is not connected to the main electricity grid. In other words, for example, it's on remote islands or remote parts of, let's say, interior parts of the island, well far from the urban centers. And if there are, even there are some communities who are not that far from urban centers, or let's say close to the existing main electricity grids, you have to provide, if you are proposing to work with those communities, you have to do some other research and confirm that there is no short-term plan to connect those communities to the existing grid. So generally, in those cases, those proposals will not be considered as eligible for funding under Renew. Any proposal that will come through would be assessed against those 6 broad criteria, including technical feasibility and access to energy, what impact is the project creating in the community, how will it be maintained for over the proposed lifetime, generally 20-25 years, and the risks in implementing the project, as well as managing it for the expected lifetime. It should be inclusive. How are you proposing to strategize inclusivity in terms of gender equality, people with disabilities, and all diverse groups within the society that, or the community that this project is looking at. Implementation and partnership, implementation strategy, the sequencing of the number of sites, sequencing, logistics, transport, and how each partner is contributing to enable this implementation. So as I mentioned earlier, we are also looking at locally led development. So if you are partnering with local NGOs, local community organizations, or local businesses, there should be clear description of the roles that each player would undertake in getting the solution to the renewable energy solution to these communities. Budget and value for money, of course, we cannot be, we would fund projects that present good value for money, and the budget seems realistic in terms of the current market price for the technologies and the other associated costs, for example, engineering designs, cost of labor, cost of transport, etc. Yes. What's the process that we will undertake to solicit proposals and how we will process it at our end? So applications would likely open early March. You all would get notification if you have registered through our website and the social media platform that we have. We will publicize it, and you would get those notifications. Tentatively, it should happen on 3rd of March. So once that is that public call for partnerships is made open, we would expect project proponents to submit a concept note. The basic process would be when you receive the notification from our website or the generic email or through the social media platforms, you have to create a account under the Smarty Grants platform, which is the Australian government's platform for processing aid-based projects. And once you establish or create an account, then you'll be able to access Renew Pacific link in there, and you can download a concept note template that the Renew Pacific program has designed, and we will try and apply it consistently across all applications. You will have roughly 8 weeks to think of your project idea, write it up, and make a submission, again through Smarty Grants. And then we will internally here at Palladium, in consultation with DFED, we will do a shortlist, and those concept notes that are promising and has presents good value for money, presents good solutions to the remote communities, those would be notified and also supported with submitting a full proposal. So once the proposals are submitted in, we will have an assessment panel comprising of about 5 to 6 experts from different thematic areas. This would be assessed, and we will notify the project proponents of the outcome of the assessment. If that is assessed as in the favorable to go ahead with funding, then the next step would be due diligence and contracting. So in due diligence, we would require the lead applicant. So you can have a partnership, let's say, of 3 to 4 partners. At this stage, any partner can submit the proposal on behalf of the other 3 partners, let's say. And you will have time until you get a notification that yes, your full proposal is assessed positively and it could be considered for funding. At that time, you can decide. If you haven't decided before, that's the time you can decide which one would be the lead applicant. So that is the partner that will sign the formal contract under the project. Once the contracting is done, we will have kick-off meetings where we discuss an overarching work plan, how you intend to do monitoring, evaluation, learning across your project, and in consultation or in thinking of other similar things that is happening around the community. And we will also try and work with all the partners to undertake a ways of working session, because this is a partnership-based model. And in the beginning, you want to make it we want to facilitate a session where each partner gets the clarity in terms of what is their role expected and what the other partners are expecting of their role, and vice versa. So every partner will get the opportunity to share that and the clarity around the way we will work. And then afterwards, you begin with the implementation. Then we will have regular meetings and opportunities to share results, share progress, etc. Next slide, please. So this is an indicative timeline only. This will be confirmed in early March. We expect to make the public call for partnerships open in the first week of March. And then we will have about 8 weeks to submit in your concept notes. Important point to note is we will start processing these on a rolling basis. So the sooner you can put in your submission, the faster it could be considered or could be taken for assessment. And I mean, it takes about a month for us internally to do those assessments and get back to you with an outcome, whether this is considered favorably to proceed to the full proposal stage. If there are some aspects or areas in which we would need further information, then we would indicate that in writing to the project proponents. We will also have some limited technical support from the project to support the proponents. For example, we have partnership brokers, partnership advisors in our team. We have business advisors. We have technical specialists with technologies. So if there is special needs in some partnership, we will provide limited support as well to get your proposal across the line. So in roughly by end of May, we should be able to complete the contracting and start with implementation. But this is dependent on the amount of information and the quality of submission that comes in. So if we have developed our project-based templates for the concept note as well as the full proposal. So as you go across each stage, so at the beginning, when you create a Smarty Grants account, you would be able to access the concept note template. And once you have gone through the concept note assessment process and you get a positive result to proceed to the full proposal, then we will enable that function within Smarty Grants for you to be able to access the full proposal template as well. Template is just a guidance. Always welcome to submit any additional information or useful information as annexes, etc., to the template that we kind of request you to follow. Is there a next slide, Kate? I think I have tried to cover as much as I could in a very short time. Yeah, thanks for listening and happy to take questions. We have our team standby here. Over to you, Mo.
Thank you, Rev. Just wanted to hand it over basically to our audience for any questions. I saw some questions have already come in through both the chat and the Q&A function, but feel free to jump in with any live question and we'll work through these in the chat as quickly as we can. So I think we can take maybe one or two from the chat just to maybe start a discussion. So one attendee, Hugo Tembi, asks, are you only financing technology deployment or are you open to financing tech development, i.e. earlier in the innovation cycle? That's a great question. We are currently focusing on technology deployment. However, there may be in subsequent calls for proposal in the future a dedicated innovation window that is yet to be confirmed, but at the moment in this current call that's coming up in March, we are focusing on technology deployment. Yes, Martin. Martin, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, just had to unmute. Yeah, my question is regarding, I was wondering if there's a mechanism for connecting, say, community groups with possible solution providers. So you spoke earlier about, good technical solutions coming out of Australia. I'm sure it's not their only place, but our business is one. I'm wondering, will there be any facility through this platform to connect with community groups that may have the problem, but not the technical solution? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Martin. Also a great question. There are a couple of ideas here. One is that we intend to hold, similar to this information session, a more kind of dedicated matchmaking session. So this could happen between technology providers, it can happen between community representatives who may have an idea or a need to express just how and when this will unfold. We're currently planning. We also have, as part of our consortium delivering this program, working with Save the Children in various countries across the Pacific, who have access and existing contacts with community members, as Tim mentioned, churches and other organizations who may be in a better position to convey current needs from community members. And they are a partner to us and deployed at least in 2, if not 3 countries immediately. So that's another avenue where we can potentially gain some insight and information. Happy to discuss a bit more offline at some point, but yeah, it's a great question. Thank you. Any follow-ups? Let's see if we want to take any questions from the chat.
Mo, it's Nick here. Just mentioning there's actually quite a few questions in the chat, and
Right.
it looks like some of those will probably might require a bit of offline. They look like some of them are fairly detailed. I don't know if you want to jump to at least a few of those. We can try and answer some of the simpler ones of those.
Sure. So Avinash Naidu asks, can some Pacific Island electricity utility qualify for partnerships? For example, current system is using large diesel generators as a mini-grid. Yes, the answer is that we can. Utilities can be a project partner or a lead applicant. We're open to working with them so long as the criteria for off-grid is met. Next question. Is this applicable to remote businesses such as hotels or community-based projects? This will be on a, I guess, case-by-case basis. The ultimate aim of the program is to support the deployment of renewable energy in off-grid locations, which in turn supports opportunities for human development. As Ravinash noted, these can take various forms, including working with education centers and health centers and any opportunities to increase livelihood opportunities. So that proposal would have to demonstrate these aspects. Let's see, I got a couple of live questions. Matthew? You, Tassal. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, hi.
Okay, hi. Thank you for the presentation. Okay, yeah, I just have a query. Mine is regarding if the funding can be used for subsidy. So what I'm thinking is like, we've got some standards of solar standards here that was set up by the World Bank, and while it's very good, the standards, but it's not affordable for these quality products for the customers. So mostly they go for the cheaper ones. But so to give them access to these ones, I was thinking like if we can to use this funding to subsidize these quality products, so that it becomes a little bit cheaper, so that clients can buy them and have access to quality products which are like under warranty not like the other ones that are not on a warranty, are just cheap. Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking, like, is the funding can be used for to subsidize?
Yep, thank you, Matthew. Good question. And Ravnesh, please feel free to jump in. Every proposal will be looked at and assessed independently. So we do have a technology partner called ITP Renewables, who will be assessing the proposed technology for both its viability, its feasibility, its suitability to the project, and costs associated. That includes, sizing and whether the particular technology is suitable for that location and for that application. And I think the grants, by their very nature, reduce some of the costs upfront for project developers. So I guess you can take that not quite as direct subsidy, but it does remove some of the cost burden from project proposals. Ravnesh, you want to add anything there?
Yeah, no, I think well, just to add is that any proposal should come up with a targeted community where your project is focusing. So if the subsidy is being sought for, let's say, a targeted community of 200 people who don't have electricity, so it could be considered. Yeah.
Okay.
And I just wanted to add.
Okay. Yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think, that's clear. What I was thinking is that to target not the on-grid areas who already have access, who have a power line access, but to those who are off-grid, they're outside the range, and they are the ones that need power, but with the quality, they don't have access to the quality solar products. They needs to be made affordable to them. I was thinking about this. Range, those are off-grid, but it doesn't limit, because it can be community, it can be even the schools that are off-grid, but they can also tap in to that subsidy, and any other clients. But as long as they have access to the quality solar products, not the cheap ones.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you for your answers. Thank you.
Thanks. Moving over to Brenda.
Hi there, it's Brenda speaking from Child Fund New Zealand. Just had a question regarding the criteria for which NGOs can apply. So we're a New Zealand-based NGO. We partner directly with, for example, in the Solomon Islands, we have a local organisation that we already are in partnership with. Does there have to be an Australian-based NGO involved, or are we eligible to apply?
Thanks, Brenda. No, you are eligible to apply, as long as one of the partners in the proposal is, as you noted, local or allowed legally to operate in the country of delivery.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And just one more question. So we also work quite a lot in Kiribati. So would it make sense to do 2 separate concept notes for each individual country, or do you encourage kind of program level regional concept notes?
Yeah, good question again. No, I think we would prefer the individual country concept notes at this stage, simply to make it more manageable for us and to kind of tease out the community benefits for each location, which would also involve, us assessing the logistics and the associated costs on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Just to add, I think I can see some questions. People asking if they can submit more than one concept note. Yes, that is possible. You can submit as many concept notes as you have confidence to, implement within the budget and the timeline.
Great. Let's see if we can. Lewis, over to you.
All right, I'm unmuted. Look, just a quick question on the submission. So I noticed stage 1 is just the concept note. Once it sort of moves through to the next stage, have you guys got, will there be templates that essentially you're going to want to essentially guide us as to information that we need to put in, or is it going to be a yeah, start getting creative on our future goals for these solar projects?
Well, thanks, Lewis. No, while we welcome all sorts of creativity for this particular purpose, the concept notes and the full proposal will be following a particular template with instructions as to what we expect to see under every section. The concept note is, I think, around 4 pages at the moment, covering various aspects, including feasibility and community benefits, agenda, kind of quick assessment, and so on. The full proposal, as the name obviously suggests, is a much more detailed document that will be kind of made available to shortlisted concepts once the assessment on the concept notes are done. Nick?
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Mo. There's a really good question in there, and it's got lots of thumbs up. I just thought I'd mention it, the one about a technology provider that's interested in matchmaking session with NGOs, community orgs, and government agencies. And I just thought I'd comment on that one, having been involved in the design process for the program. You know, we did envisage over the long term that we would, you know, provide some capacity and capability to, I guess, help enhance partnerships. So what we're finding with the program, the interest is very high, as evidenced, you know, by the large number of people in this call. So there's a lot of work already materializing, but we are interested in that potential sort of brokering of partnerships. And I'd suggest if you feel that you're a provider that has really good technology and a lot of capability, that you get in touch with Mo and his team and just talk about that a little bit where applicable. Obviously, we'll prioritize situations where there is already an established relationship or partnership and people can roll out projects quickly, but we're also interested in, you know, a long-term 5-year program that can develop over, new partnerships over time. And you may want to add something there, Mo, but just thought I'd throw that one in.
Yep, thanks, Nick. I think that's the last bit there. The overtime aspect of it is we will also, as a team, as a delivery partner, start picking up on lessons on what works and what doesn't in certain kind of situations. And this goes back to one of the questions in the chat, like, will lessons learned be made available? And I think that's a really good point, not just for us, but also for potential project proponents. So I think I have several ideas here that we can explore on how to make these connections happen. And we will be using lessons from the pilot, which the BPP developed as we move along. Nick, there was one question on whether UN agencies are eligible to submit a proposal at this stage.
As far as I'm aware, yeah, we're interested in the contributions of like-minded donors. It might be worth just flagging with Mo and his team, or direct with DFAT through me and Tim, just what you had in mind, just so we can sort of understand what that might look like and give the best possible advice. But in principle, very interested in co-contribution of other donors. Over.
Thank you, Nick. Another question is on the proportion of co-finance or in-kind contribution we are expecting. Just a note here that there are no concrete expectations in terms of a number. What we do require is that project proponents show not just interest, but commitment to their proposals through a commitment to co-contribution of some sort, and we encourage, obviously, to have more skin in the game. The larger the contribution, the better. But these are not a hard and fast, cutoff that we use. We take every proposal as a case by case and make an assessment there. So, sorry for the slightly vague answer, but I think it really is. We don't want to put a certain number that will kind of eliminate proposals from the get-go. We take them as a case by case and make sure that they stand up to technical and social and environmental safeguards and benefits to the community. Polly? Sorry. Polly, can you hear us? Maybe on mute still. Turn to Polly away in a minute. Here's a question, perhaps another tricky question from Hugo, but could community engagement, social license? Please go ahead, Polly. Thanks.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Can we submit a proposal for a thermal energy storage device testing? If we anything on innovation, like we've developed some kind of form of a heat battery that we think will be suitable for energy generation, especially drying of crops and providing heat, to sterilize equipment in remote health centers, and that for this kind of needs, we are thinking of testing some kind of a heat battery. The research is currently focused in this area, and we think that it's easy to make. The thermal energy storage is the easiest of that kind of technology. So my question is, can we submit a proposal for testing this kind of device if we have developed one?
Thank you, Polly, for your question. I think there have been a couple of instances of wanting to know more about the innovation under Renew Pacific. The current call for proposals that will launch in March is focused on deployable technology that Ravinesh had noted, more, I guess, less testing and more kind of proven technology, so PV, solar, BESS, and so on. There may be an opportunity for a particular funding window or window under call for proposals that's dedicated to innovation, but at the moment we're looking at more straightforward or tested technologies. Ravinesh, anything to add?
I think that's right, Mo. And just for information, the call for partnerships in March would be the first one, and we are expecting to have one other call for proposal before end of the year. So there will be more call for proposals in the future. So there's always the chance to submit your relevant innovation ideas, probably in the other call for proposals. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Let's see. Anyone else with any live questions before I check the chat again? Yes, Emmanuel.
Hi, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so sorry, my question is, I'm working with two groups of landowners to mining operations, and so I guess it's a little different in terms of community benefits in that sense, in that we're looking at more a commercial scale solar farm setup to provide power to the mines. Is that something that could fall under your category as well, with funding for, like, grant funding for feasibility studies?
Thanks, Emmanuel. I would at this point say probably not. We're looking at more community scale benefits, and focusing really on the sectors that contribute to human development more directly, I would say. So again, health, education, livelihoods, and support in that term. So I think at this particular point in time, it would be out of scope. James?
CEO of an independent power producer in Papua New Guinea. We've got a series of mini grids that are under development, and just I wasn't going to ask a question because I thought it was abundantly clear before, but your response to Emmanuel's got me just wanting to clarify. So we can't commercialize these, or if I'm going to be developing mini grids, that is something that Renew Pacific is eligible to fund or assist in the funding of.
Mini grids, yes, but again, it's what's the offtake and what the purpose of these mini grids are. So there was also a question about potential connections to hotels and other similar facilities, and I think
I mean these are these are in really rural parts of Papua New Guinea that don't currently have access to any electricity. In one of the villages that we're looking at, there's a hospital and a couple of schools, but we also want to put meters on every or as many households as possible.
That as a concept is within scope to provide electricity to an area or a community that actually has no power connections at the moment. So
right, thank you.
Yeah. Nuntake, sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name. Nuntake, can you hear me? You're on mute. Unfortunately, we can't.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for the presentation. I just happened to got a session invite from Paul, from the Rainbow Power Company, and I briefly joined in the middle of the session, but I have a few questions. I understand that countries required to do concept notes, but I just want to check first if this also, actually I'm from the category best green energy solution, the chief executive officer in Kiribati. And one of our responsibility is to provide solar system focusing on the outside and including education, health, and communities. And I was aware that a lot of systems have been established on the outer islands. However, maintenance around those solar systems are not up to the standard. And just keen to know if the support can also provide support in terms of auditing for existing solar system to where if needed to understand that their sustainability, that their life, and we can take it forward with donors when we prepare the concept notes.
Thank you, Take. If I just understand your question correctly, you're looking to see if any Renew Pacific proposal funding can provide a bit of an audit to existing energy systems?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. I believe that the concept submission, this links to another question from the chat, should demonstrate viability and a rationale as to why the proposal is being applied for. So an assessment of existing infrastructure that may need upgrade or replacement should be part of the concept. However, we do partner with our technical provider that would help make that assessment for us as well. Ravinesh, anything to add here?
No, I think proposal is welcome. We will consider it, and maybe there will be need for further one-to-one discussions. We will engage in that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think maybe the last one we can take is, in the interest of time, KIG Energy. you. On mute. So I think we're still on mute. Maybe we can take a question in the chat at some point. Some technical difficulties. Okay, maybe we make the last one. Lewis?
Hey, mate. Yeah, I was actually just typing my question because I didn't make the last one. The grant donations, so 100% granted, those sorts of projects and stuff, what are the sort of, I suppose, price ranges and project values that the team is sort of looking for? Obviously, they come with a lot lower value and sort of specialized cases. But yeah, a bit more, just some details on that.
Sure, thank you. As Ravnesh mentioned earlier in the table, he presented our recommended size. It's again not a hard and fast number. We are looking to promote as much as possible scale in these projects. However, we feel that a recommended minimum of around 250,000 Australian is a good place to start. And so that forms the total of the grant funding. So whatever the project proponents bring in terms of co-contribution, be that cash or in kind, would probably put that up to 300,000-400,000. But there's no set minimum. It really depends on the concept and the benefits that flow from it and the viability of it. So I don't know, does that answer your question? It's the recommended minimum and maximum that we are going with.
Yeah, no, that does answer the question. So basically, it's ideal to try and build concept notes where there is some form of co-contribution. But if that's not possible, essentially submitting the concept note, that's it within those ranges, and basically justifying the project and all that sort of stuff, and that it won't be there'll be no co-contribution. It will need to be 100% funded by this project.
That's actually a very good point. One of the eligibility criteria that we have put for proposals is that there is a co-contribution, and this does not need to be 1-to-1 or any other percentage. However, we do espouse that project proponents have some skin in the game. So that could be, again, time, it could be a piece of land, it could be volunteer hours. We have a list of criteria that will, or eligible contributions that will make available to those who want to submit a concept. But for sure that to be eligible for grant funding, some co-contribution has to be present in your proposal.
Excellent. That clarifies it. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess we're a little bit over time. And sorry, we cannot get to all the questions. We'll take them in the chat and purport to and do our best to respond to them. But just wanted to thank everyone again. And Tim or Nick, any last words?
Well, I'd just like to say great session, and the program's off to a great start. We did launch it back at COP29 with Minister Bowen, Minister for Climate Change, who was at that conference. So we've had our global launch. Now we've had our kind of information session, and very soon we'll be doing an in-Pacific launch and opening this call for proposals. So it's great to have this, initial interest just before it even starts for business. As the guys said, this is definitely a co-financing program. The level of co-financing is up to you. But as I kind of said in my initial comments at the beginning, we need to make sure that these systems are sustainable for the long term. And that's going to mean there needs to be some ongoing source of revenue for the project or source of investment. So that's quite an important part. But look, I suppose that just goes to reinforce the message that everything we want to do, we want to be sustainable, we want to be inclusive, we want it to be climate resilient, and we want it to be really impactful for the community. So we're looking forward to working with a whole range of you to deliver that in these remote and rural parts of the Pacific. So thanks, Mo. Ravinesh, and everyone who joined today.
Thank you.